All right. Well, good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Talk About It Live with Frank and Manny. And how you doing this morning, brother?
Doing good, bro. Except for if you're in the Del Rio area, AT&T cell phone service is down. So thank you for joining us on your Wi-Fi. If you're at the house, at work, using the boss's Wi-Fi, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, praise the Lord, man. I mean, sometimes it's a blessing, when the phones are down for me anyway, because then, I don't get all the calls that I usually get. But not saying that I don't appreciate the calls that I get, but anyway, hopefully you'll be able to join us on Wi-Fi. If not, later on when you pick this up on your phone, we're still on going to be podcasting as well on Spotify and Podbean and also Amazon Music, and we're also on Rumble. Don't forget about that. We're also trying to get on a few more channels as well. So if you watch this program, we really appreciate it. We want to welcome. We also want to thank Old Patrol Headquarters for allowing us to post on the page. Gil, thank you so much for all that you do, brother. For our brothers and sisters out there in Green, man, we really appreciate you. And again, I just want to say thank you all for who are out there serving in the Border Patrol and all law enforcement as well. But Frank and I were retired Border Patrol, so I just give a special shout out to our brothers and sisters in Green who are out there working, trying to protect and trying to do the best they can, Frank, with what they got right now, man. Which actually, sad to say, isn't much, right?
Yeah, we've both been talking with folks out there. Uh, you know, I've been gathering signatures. People asked, "Hey, why aren't you filming as much on the border?" Look, a couple of reasons for that, Manny. First of all, it's disgustingly depressing.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
to see the same old thing over and over. It doesn't
yeah.
change. Actually, it's picking up. But the other thing is, I've got to get on this November ballot, and so I've been out there block walking, talking to folks, and I've been people see me walking around with my little clipboard, and Biden did this sticker in the back of this. Uh, so I've been also having the opportunity, man, to register people
Oh
to
wow,
vote, bro.
awesome.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not registering them myself. Oh man, all the
Right,
Karens and squealers out there are gonna start squawking about that. But I'm giving them an application that they can fill out and mail in at their own leisure, because there's still people, unbelievably, that have not registered to vote, and it's elected officials, brother, that are making the decisions that are causing widespread misery, not
right.
just in this country. Look, a lot of what's happening to our nation, yeah, it's elected officials' decisions, but Manny, there's underlying tones to this, and we know that the child and sex trafficking industry
Yeah,
is thriving off this. There's people making money,
yeah.
boatloads of money off the sexploitation of women and children. And so, at the end of the day, any person, group, activity, any entity, elected official that is not screaming about stopping this, that is not making that good faith effort, bro, to stop this. And there's things that can be done. Has anybody talked about holding back the money to fund this invasion? Oh wait, Republicans voted to continue funding this invasion.
Yeah.
As did the Democrats. The reason I'm calling out the Republicans is because you're supposed to be the stopgap. You're supposed to be, the one standing in the gap in the wall to prevent the invasion of our country, but also to prevent the sexploitation of women and children. And there's people that have blood on their hands, brother.
Yeah.
People like Tony Gonzalez and other elected officials that have done nothing but aid and abet and further this invasion. So yeah, that's what I'm doing, man. As we're talking to people, they know that this is a problem. It's got to get dealt with decisively. And man, bro, I'm excited. We're gonna blow right past the 500. As we move forward, gathering more and more signatures.
Yeah.
So that can be on the November ballot, and we'll put a real fighter in Congress, man, not some lap puppet.
Yeah,
That's what we
Frank, and I,
see.
and I and I pray that you do make it, brother. We're praying daily that you make it into Congress, and we'll have to make some adjustments if you do here at Talk About It Live, but there's a big fight out there, folks. It's a battle and war that is happening, for American sovereignty, and this invasion, folks, is just in my opinion the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
This Democratic Party, this administration, and then the rhinos involved seem to want to are intent on destroying this country.
Yeah.
And we talk about you talked about earlier in regards to funding this invasion, And I believe the rhinos like Tony Gonzalez. He's not the only one. McCarthy's out there as well. It's sad to say the ones who came down to the border the other day with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Although I appreciate some of the words that she says, it's sad to say that she came with the two biggest rhinos in the Republican Party, McCarthy and Tony Gonzalez. And bro, I talked to a lot of border patrol agents after that, and a lot of my sources, some of my friends that I still keep in touch with, and bro, they saw right through it, bro. There's just a photo op.
Yep.
When I asked them, hey, how do you feel about them being down here? They're like, it's just a photo op, man. They don't care, because if they cared, they would help stop this invasion rather than continue to fly illegal aliens out of Laughlin Air Force Base. Continue to one of the biggest complaints I got from was the continuing to support the NGOs, the non-governmental organizations. Because sad to say, a lot of agents have a hard time going and dropping off these illegal aliens at these NGOs. There's this inner struggle that goes on because they have to, they're basically have to do it. So they got to go and drop off all these illegal aliens here at these NGOs, like the local one that we have here. The humanitarian border coalition, which I don't think, I always say I don't see anything humanitarian about it. And I was reading the article the other day, Frank, on the 8:30 Times, and they're already last month and they're proud of this, Frank, that they already helped, and that's what they say, they helped send, they call them migrants. They're not migrants. They're illegal aliens. Migrants come over here legally, folks, and they're not refugees either. If you go on the Valverde Humanitarian Border Coalition website, they describe them as refugees. They're not fleeing. The majority of them aren't fleeing anything.
It's an economic opportunity, bro.
It's economic opportunity, and it's economic opportunity for their countries, folks. That's why a lot of these countries are not trying to prevent them from coming over, because, folks, people don't understand that the money goes back south. It doesn't stay here. Illegal immigration doesn't benefit the United States. But anyway, the whole point to what I was about to say is that last month they were excited because they said, over 5,500 illegal aliens. They call them migrants, but illegal aliens that they bust throughout the nation.
Yeah.
And folks, this is terrible, because we're getting, so if there's 5,000 a month, it's 10,000 every couple of months, and it actually it's going to be more, folks, if this Title 42 gets lifted, that they're going to be helping, that they're going to be assisting, sending to the communities. But, folks, a lot of these illegal aliens that come through these NGOs are fraudulent families. I believe it's they're transportation agencies for the cartels, because a lot of these kids don't belong to these adults. We can't, and they're sending them out there, COVID positive, also with all these other kinds of ailments and whatnot. But I believe that it's also assisting in human trafficking and sex trafficking.
Yep.
Because a lot of these illegal aliens that are reaching their destinations aren't necessarily safe once they get there.
Yeah. Well, it's a documented fact, Manny, that this is a part of a larger, effort to bring people in, to exploit people, women, children. Why am I talking about that today? Man, just seeing the numbers come across, and knowing, brother, that this is not being in any way, hampered, stalled or anything, man. It's just full blast. And we're talking. You were talking about the folks that have expressed their outrage, their anger with the NGOs. That's a key point, and something, Manny, we've talked about this. If I were to get elected to office, that's something I would look at, is the NGO issue. Look at the funding. Look at what's being done with that. There was a Inspector General report that was just released on the outcome of the investigation at DHS into the contract, no bid contract that Endeavor's received. Endeavor's a family. Endeavor's, it's a huge NGO corporation headquartered in San Antonio, and there were $17 million that were supposed to be used for bed space, that was not used for bed space. And so, as watchdogs, as citizens who demand accountability, the natural question is, what happened to those $17 million? What were they used for? And so that's a thing. Government is not necessarily the wisest steward, the most efficient and frugal of entities, bro. Yeah. And so this is just a tremendous opportunity for unscrupulous people to take that money and use it in ways that should not be used, and so there's that's why that's got to get looked into. And I'm not saying that Endeavors did something illegal with that money, but the question demands, the question is, what happened to the money? How was it used? Let's throw open the books. Let's look at that, and that's why there's tremendous pushback to my candidacy here, Manny, because they know I'm not going to go up there and hobnob and get in bed with the non-government organizations like Tony Gonzalez, who's actually, his office is situated inside Endeavor's an NGO. Look, folks,
Not even in his district, right?
not even in his district, but the guy that has 823 miles of border, his office in San Antonio is inside Family Endeavors, one of the lead NGOs that's moving these people into our country. I mean, and there's still so many people that continue to cover and make excuses for that behavior, brother. Hey, look, I was talking with a gentleman. It's like, why do you have to go to D.C.? We did COVID. They did the Zoom meetings and all that kind of stuff. We could definitely continue, with having our congressmen, in their home districts. And that, I'm totally for that. I don't mind, being at the office, visiting with folks, having come and talk to your congressman. And of course, it's stuff that's got to get done in Washington. But look, the people demand that their representative, their champion, be on the ground fighting for their cause,
Right.
fighting for the issues that concern them. It's not about running around taking pictures. It's not about acting like you're doing something. It's about collaborating with other like-minded persons
Right.
to hamper and stop and be a thorn in the side of this Biden administration and everything that they're doing. And where I kind of was going earlier, man, is there were some brave Republicans that voted against the omnibus bill.
Yeah.
Because they saw the massive waste in that omnibus bill. They saw that,
The omnibus bill about the illegal aliens being taken to.
well, just the general overall funding, bro.
Right.
Just the general overall funding. They saw that there was in their money for gun control, infringement on our Second Amendment. And so there's principled congressmen, Republicans that will vote against just this massive, spending that's going on. They're
Yeah.
throwing money at this problem like, like a bunch of happy sailors at a strip bar or something.
And it's sad because I heard Biden. I can't stand listening to him. I can't really understand what he's saying there half the time. But he actually had a quote. I was trying to cue it up here earlier, where he actually comes out and he says, "We're basically out of money." That coming from the so-called president of the United States, I mean, that's troubling, And then he makes remarks like that, and of course, my stocks, they suffer, because every time he opens up his mouth, all the investors get nervous about what he's going to do next. And I just want to give a quick shout out to HTX Renegade Radio. Thanks for joining us this morning, guys. Really appreciate it. Actually, Frank and I were going to be on that program next week on May 12th. So, please tune in. And not just on that day, but on all other days. Those guys deliver some awesome civil band and TDC. We really appreciate what you guys do, man. Being out there in the Houston area and telling the truth and trying to get people educated on what's happening here in America. I was on the phone with them the other day, and man, it's amazing how many people do not know what is happening even here in the great state of Texas. And the representatives that we have here, unfortunately, in this district, and even over there in that area, and Dan Crenshaw, he's been a disappointment as well. Turned into a huge rhino.
Treasonous is more.
Yeah. It's sad, folks. It's sad. And what gets me, Frank, is that these guys are veterans, man. Military veterans that serve the country. Both Frank and I are, United States Army veterans. Maybe that's the thing.
I wouldn't go there.
Yeah, I'm not going to go there. But I'm just giving a little,
inner service rivalry.
Yeah. But the amazing thing to me is that when I was in the military, when I first joined, I had a liberal mindset. I was young. I was 17 years old. I thought I knew everything. And then when I got in there, I realized that liberal leftist mindset does not work in the United States military. It doesn't. If you love your country, if you want to defend your country, you want to stand up for your country, you want to fight for what's right, that leftist mentality, it doesn't work. That liberal mentality doesn't work. It's a failed ideology because it leads to socialism. It leads to things like communism.
Yeah, and look, as you're giving the shout outs here, just want to give shout outs to fellow patriots here who are watching and know what we're talking about. Look, as I was walking around, Manny, just gathering signatures, good, conservative, God-loving, freedom-loving nation-serving Texans that I've bumped into in some of the more Democrat neighborhoods, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
realize that what's happening is wrong, and they got this sense. That's why I've said that it's time for, Texas conservatives. The Democrat Party is being driven by socialists.
Yep.
It's time to get off that bus, folks. It's time to get off that bus. But a word of warning, as Tucker Carlson has given this word of warning, as Dan Bongino and others are warning the GOP Republican Party, don't take the Texan vote for granted. Don't take the border vote for granted. Don't take the Tejano vote for granted.
Right.
We're watching, bro. We're watching, and as you said earlier, Kevin McCarthy wants to be the majority leader. Tony Gonzalez wants to move up within the ranks of the Republican Party. But hey, look, Tejanos aren't going to have anything to do with that. Texans see right through that and know that they're selling us out, and they're globalists, and they're involved with the World Economic Forum. They're involved with George Soros. They're involved with all these shady groups like the Humpty Dumpty Institute, which will be, we should do a whole show.
Yeah, I looked that up. That's the National Institute.
It's a national agency, and we're going to do a whole show on Tony Gonzalez and the Humpty Dumpty Institute. And somebody here said, "Why are Democrats going to the Ukraine?" Well, let me ask you this question:
To meet with their investors. That's why.
to meet with their money launderers, But anyways, since you brought up the Ukraine on our comment here, Kelly, Tony Gonzalez went to the Ukraine, and that trip was paid for by the Humpty Dumpty Institute.
He went before all this started. That's kind of fishy, folks.
Last August, bro,
Yeah, that's shady, man.
With Tony Gonzalez being the NGO king, as a matter of fact, his name is spelled GNGO Gonzalez. He's going to be involved, folks. He's going to be involved with refugee resettlement, going to be involved with people movement. He's going to be involved with anything that is of benefit to his NGO overlords, to his NGO puppet masters, to his George Soros daddy. He's going to be involved in that movement. And so he was in the Ukraine last summer. Who knows what skids were getting greased up there, what plans were being put in place. But the same media, Manny, that sold to us, tried to sell to the American people, that they did to a lot of folks, the germ, story, and other, similar stories, is pushing the major story coming out of that conflict out there. Right. And so, folks, look, you need to have a critical eye, man. You need to think with your, most inner sense of, of balance here as to what is light and dark, what is right and wrong, what is, black and white, what is the true activity that is taking place. And so we just saw this move with our government moving towards this governance board, bro, moving towards this, speech monitoring, activity monitoring board. They put some kind of
that misinformation board or
misinformation board.
Yeah, the Nazis had the same thing, man.
And so that's that's where I'm going, brother. That if they control the narrative, if they control the story, if they control what they want you to think, and literally that's what they're pushing. They are pushing thought control. They want to push their narrative to get down into your head. And the Word of God tells us to guard our hearts, brother. Tells us to, a man who does not control his spirit is like a city without walls, is what the Word of God says. So you need to protect your spirit. You need to protect your mind. You need to protect your
walls are important, brother.
Walls are important.
Yeah, physical, spiritual, emotional walls are important.
Important. And so they're pushing this propaganda down our throats, bro. And the truth tellers, those of us that are willing to stand out here with these truth bombs, are getting monitored.
Yep.
And in certain cases, as has happened to us, one of our episodes was removed.
Yeah, one of our episodes was removed because we spoke out against the election. Now we didn't speak out against it. Actually, we mentioned and we talked about the fishiness and the shadiness of the 2020 election, and because of that, we got a warning from YouTube, and they removed one of our episodes, and then put it in there in the email that if it happens again, they're going to delete our whole channel. Folks. And it's amazing to me what is going on. We talk about this ministry of information or misinformation, whatever they want to call it. It's Ministry of Information, and they call it a department, but it's a ministry. And the reason I say that is because the Nazis had the same thing, folks, and it fell under the Ministry of Enlightenment and Propaganda. Is the Ministry of Information that the Nazi regime had during the World War II, actually set up before World War II, and to single out truth tellers. Even intellectuals, they removed. And then when they finally got into power, they went after those who helped them get into power. And so, folks, we're seeing history repeat itself. We have I have friends that are part of our congregation and part of our what we call mishpocha in Hebrew, part of our congregational family that have come from countries like communist Poland, during the time and other areas, and they're afraid, Frank, of what they're seeing here.
Yeah.
It happened in the United States. We're in contact with people that live in other countries such as China and whatnot, and that have come over here, that have immigrated, and they're afraid of what they're seeing here. And what's amazing is that what they're seeing is the young people embracing it, which is sad, And but we're also seeing, people like our age, defending, these ideologies, socialism and whatnot. And folks, it's a shame. But yeah, there's a comment here, on Old Patrol headquarters, follow the money, and that's what we've been saying, folks. Follow the money.
Yeah, and talking about money, there's a comment over here that I'm looking at where it talks about, the administration right now, in order to try to affect the upcoming November election, bro, is talking about paying off student debt. And so, but at the same time, they've been sending hundreds of millions of dollars, bro, into the Ukraine. Yeah. Look, the cynical, critical me. This is one of the thoughts that comes into my head, Manny. Is they're funneling money over there, bro.
Yeah.
They're funneling boatloads of money over there, and
a lot of people don't realize, Frank, that it's two corrupt governments fighting each other.
Yeah. The Ukraine has a corrupt government, and that's a story that's been pitched at people, painting the president as some kind of savior angel for. Look, you need to do your research. Glenn Beck has a great series on this, has a great show on this. We need to throw up that Glenn Beck. Laura Logan, who has been all over the world investigating and reporting, but also, also as an investigative function. She's talked about this as well, bro. The true background to some of the people in the Ukraine. Yeah, there's innocent people. Yeah, there's guilt-free people over there. But there's a lot of folks up there, and a lot of people don't realize it, bro. The remnants of the Nazi regime over there.
Yeah, oh yeah, and and of course I feel bad for the misplaced citizens of the Ukraine that are suffering because of this corruption. But when the Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union, they had the most violent and evil soldiers came out of the Ukraine, and I think that's one of the reasons why Russia's having such a hard time fighting against them, but I think people are getting it backwards in the sense that, hey, this it's corruption, folks. It's just two corrupt governments fighting one another, and sadly people are suffering for it. But anyway, getting back to where we're at over here on the border as well.
Border.
Yeah, on our border, because we're sending all kinds of resources over there to their border. They've even talked about sending Border Patrol agents to the Ukraine.
Ridiculous.
To help bring Ukrainians and Russians over here to the United States. I'm not saying we shouldn't help misplaced people, but anyway. So, but one of the things that I want to touch upon as well, Frank, is that I don't know if you guys, anybody's been watching the news, but I've been watching some of the hearings of Mayorkas. I refuse to call him the DHS secretary because he's a failure.
He's a traitor.
He's a traitor, big time traitor, and hates us, hates Border Patrol, hates DHS. He made his whole career out of hating Border Patrol and CBP, but anyway, he's sitting in front of Clay Higgins, Congressman Clay Higgins, and this is the words that he says. These are the words that he has. He says, "We inherited a broken and dismantled system that is already under strain." What do you think about that comment?
It's a total lie, and it's a common talking point. Look, folks, they use words.
Yeah.
They use words, so you need to listen to their words and compare them to their actions. We know Yeah, that there's always been illegal crossings,
Right.
but under the Trump administration, he left them. He left them the template, the
Yep.
working model of what needed to be done. Continue building the wall, continue MPP, continue Title 42,
Yep.
and then something I would do as congressman, Manny, and folks ask me, well, what are you going to do? Everybody's throwing money at the problem, and that kind of goes to answer a question here, Kelly. You know, what are the five DPS troopers doing parked in front of the NGO with their cars running? You know, why are they just sitting there? Well, how are our tax dollars, being spent in this manner? Those are the good probing accountability questions that we need to be asking.
Yeah.
That we need to be asking. You know, what's the purpose of DPS being there?
Right.
I could see, the part of it had to do with, Abbott shipping people into the D.C.,
Yeah.
giving them free bus rides on our dime into the D.C. So part of it, I understand that they're having to be a state presence there. But it goes to the money. And one of the things I would do, bro, is seek to protect our men and women in the front lines. Everybody's throwing money at it. Well, why not just look at the executive order angle? You know, presidents past, Republican and Democrat, have used the executive order, but no one to the extent that Joe Biden has. And it goes up under Democrat. Obama used way more than even Clinton and Bush used as far as their executive order power. It's the role of the Congress,
Right.
to look at that. Remember, we live in
There has to be accountability.
yeah, our government is a check and balance type of
Right.
government, and the House of Representatives, the U.S. Congress, the senators, have an obligation to look at this executive order power. And well, okay, we don't want to tie our hands for future Republican presidents, folks. At the way we're going, we may never see another Republican Party in this president in this country,
Yeah.
because it's clear what they're doing. They're trying to turn Texas and the rest of the country into the California, the
Yeah.
blue California. That's a part of the purpose of this invasion,
Yeah.
is to change the electoral college in favor of Democrats. And so, look, Kevin McCarthy's trying to become the majority leader. Everybody's talking about the red wave that's going to come in November. Folks like Tucker Carlson, Dan Bongino, and others are sounding the alarm and saying, look,
He's a puppet.
he's a puppet. And Tucker Carlson even calls him a liberal puppet.
A liberal puppet. And who's one of his right hand men right now? Tony Gonzalez.
Tony Gonzalez and Stefani, whatever her name, first name is, Stefani. You know, she's a woman from New Jersey. A lot of people don't know about this number 3 in the Republican Party. You know, you got the minority speaker, and then she's the number 3 in the party at that level. And she comes out of New Jersey, I believe, bro. And she was an open borders proponent over there.
Wow.
She was an amnesty proponent over there. And people don't do the research. You need to do the research. So that's one of the things I would do. I would look at the executive order power of the president. And look, you can float legislation to name some building after somebody. And you can float legislation to protect, green frogs or whatever, red frogs or whatever. Well, let's float some real legislation that curbs and reins in what President Biden is doing right now, instead of just throwing more money at the problem.
And the sad thing is too, Frank, is that the Democrats they depend upon the ignorance of their voters, but they also depend on rhinos, within the Republican Party, because there's a lot of people in the Republican Party, folks, that are not fighting. Real quick, going back to Mayorkas and this comment, that he inherited a broken system or broken dismantled system that's already under strain. Folks, Frank and I was in the Border Patrol under President Trump, and I can tell you it was a stark. It was night and day.
Yeah.
It was a stark difference between the Trump administration, and the Biden administration, as far as illegal immigration went. You can go out there and you can ask any Border Patrol agent out in the field that was under Trump and under Biden right now, and they will tell you it is night and day. Under President Trump, our encounters and apprehensions were down 75 to 80%. Under Biden, they're all the way up to 600%, and in some areas, in regards to sex offenders, over 2,000% in regards to arrests and apprehensions. Folks, this is ridiculous, And so the words here with Mayorkas is saying is basically this was happening already under Trump. You go and ask any agent, well, with the exception of the chief, unfortunately, because he believes that it's always been happening as well. But their idea and their plan is just to process faster. Matter of fact, Chip Roy goes off on Mayorkas in a hearing, telling him that's your plan. He said, yes, that's your plan, just to process faster.
Yeah.
He says you're telling us that you have operational control. I've seen operational control. You've seen operational control.
And that's what's disgusting about John Cornyn, Senator John Cornyn, AKA, that it's time to go, John,
Yeah.
kind of senator here in Texas. When he teamed up with Cuellar down in Laredo, Tony Gonzalez, once again, this guy just keeps popping. If it's open borders, if it's amnesty, if it's refugee resettlement, if it's the movement of people, Tony G. NGO Gonzalez is going to be involved in that. But anyways, that's why they were pushing, bro. Remember those 4 asylum mega processing centers?
Yeah.
They were pushing for that last year. They knew what was coming. And instead of pushing to stop it, they float legislation to build at least, that was the language, at least 4 mega processing centers, just to speed it up, just to open up the pipeline. As a good friend of mine has said, when your house, when the sewer in your house breaks and you got sewage creeping into your house, you don't raise the ceiling, bro, just to allow for more stuff in there.
Yeah.
You go to the root of the problem. And so all they did was throw money at it.
See, that's the thing. When he comes down to the border like he did, I'm going to put this picture up over here.
Yeah.
Here's kind of, unashamedly here with McCarthy at the border in Eagle Pass, Texas, talking about how tragic and the crisis is and whatnot. Bro, he's speaking out of both sides of his neck because
he is. And that's what I was getting to, bro. Just the hypocrisy is so deep with these people. And so that's one of the things that Americans need to watch their actions. Don't just listen to their words. It's all look. That's what they do, folks. Hollywood's been doing it. TV commercials do it. They present to you the image, the product, the narrative. The idea that they want you to think, and they do it over and over and over. That's why you're going to see Tony Gonzalez now coming off as being some kind of anti-invasion guy, when at the beginning he was flying them out of Laughlin. He was pushing to build 4 new mega processing asylum centers at least. He's teamed up with Elise Stefanik, the number 3 in the House, and they're running around talking about border control. Why, folks? Because they're unashamedly lying to you.
Yeah.
They're lying to you. They do not intend to stop this. And that's why people, a few good people left in the media like Tucker Carlson are calling them out. And he said it in that broadcast I showed you here a few days ago, where he says, look, Republicans, you better be careful because, you might win the congressional majority in November, but you're going to wind up with liberals like either Kevin McCarthy as a speaker, or he even said Elise Stefanik as a speaker. I feel bad for Chip Roy and Marjorie Taylor Greene, and that they had to be in that picture with these sellouts, because they have sold out. They're traitors. So I'll just say it that way, bro. That's what they are. And they're lying to you because it's propaganda. And a lie repeated often enough will be believed as the truth.
Yeah, and the Nazis believe that if you say loud enough and long enough, people believe it. They'll believe a big lie rather than a small lie, And it's also because I want to go back. I feel bad for some of these people that have come on board and are touring with Tony and McCarthy, because they are rhinos. And let's not forget that I pointed this out the other day when I was out there collecting signatures. I was talking to an individual, and he asked me. He says, "Why? What's wrong with Tony Gonzalez? What did he do?" I said, he voted for the January 6th Commission, and right away he goes, "Give me that. I'll sign it."
Yeah.
Folks, do your research. Tony Gonzalez voted. He was one of 35 Rhino Republicans. There's another one out of Texas. I forget his name. But there's two out of Texas, a great state of Texas, folks, a red state. There's supposed to be a red state, which is right now purple at best. But he was one of 35 Republicans who voted for the January 6th Commission. Folks, this January 6th Commission, the Democrats want to use it against you and me. He's trying to backtrack now, but folks, he threw his vote in there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he threw his vote in there, bro. He's voted anti-Second Amendment He also on February 20, what is it, the 11th, February 11th, Chip Roy submitted a letter calling for Alejandro Mayorkas to step down. And guess who did not sign that letter asking for Mayorkas to step down, bro? Just one guess.
Tony Gonzalez.
The guy with 800 something miles of border here in Texas, 823 miles. The guy presiding over this invasion. He's presiding over it, bro.
Yeah.
He's sitting there watching it. We've documented ad nauseum here. His involvement with the NGOs. I mean, Congressional District 23. You're gonna do that to yourselves again? Are you going to freaking light the match over the gas barrel again? Because in 2020, you had a choice.
Yeah,
you had a choice to send a true conservative border hawk warrior to the Congress.
Yeah.
And people still bought the lies, they bought the sweet talk. And so, what's that sugar tasting like in your mouth now?
And I've talked
I
with
think
people.
It's probably turned into vinegar. Bro.
I've talked to people, man, and then a lot of people are like, I regret, not voting for Raul Reyes when I had the opportunity.
I've encountered that as well.
And I'm like, well, you had the opportunity, and but we have another opportunity right now to put a good strong candidate in, a good strong congressman in office there, Frank Lopez, and and I really truly appreciate you Frank, not just because you're my friend, but because I'd be the first one to call you out if you're doing,
I expect that.
Yeah.
I demand that. It should be that way.
If you were going the route that he's going, or if you even give me an inkling that you may be somewhat of a rhino, I'd call you out, and you have to, and I feel bad for some of these, like you said, Chip Roy, even Clay Higgins, who the other day was telling Mayorkas, look, if the Republicans get the majority, he goes, and I hope we do, he goes, we're going to impeach you.
Yep.
And if they're calling you have these Republicans, these good ones that are calling for the impeachment of Mayorkas,
yes.
And you have one who's not saying anything.
Yeah, and of course he's not going to say anything. Yeah, Chip Roy has moved on, Manny, from this letter demanding he step down to now looking at impeachment proceedings. Should and of course he could do that right now. It's not going to go anywhere in the Democrat-controlled Congress. And a lot of people say impeach Biden. Look, folks, as long as they control the Congress,
it's not going to happen.
Nobody's going to push it. It's basic civics here. But if they get the majority, that if I was in Congress, bro, number one thing, let's roll out with a list of impeachments. Yeah. Let's start moving on this, people. And it's not because of partisan rancor here, folks. It's not get even with anybody. It's to impeach traitors to our country, people who are aiding and abetting this invasion. And run all you want to, Tony, because I know you're watching. I know your minions are watching. The sheep, your sheep are watching. You're not going to be able to run away from this. You're not going to be able to run away from the fact that you betrayed Trump, the fact that you betrayed Americans when you voted for the January 6th commission, the fact that you voted for gun control, the fact that you're in bed with the non-government organizations, and you stand out and use the memory of a dead soldier. I sent you that email where he's in Congress, folks, in Congress with a big poster of Sergeant Bishop, this National Guard.
Evans.
Evans. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Can you throw it up there, bro, so people can see it?
Well, Sergeant Bishop Evans, yeah.
Yeah. And so he's up there of all the hypocritical, bro. I mean, look, dude, if there's a freaking intergalactic award for hypocrite, Tony, you got 15 of them, brother, because you sit here and exploit the memory of a dead public servant, a dead American warrior. You exploit it when you have been aiding and abetting these NGOs. Dude, it's beyond hypocrisy. It is total shameless deviltry here, man. Yeah. That's just freaking devilish, man. Yeah. That somebody could sit on the memory on the grave of a dead person
when he's partly to blame,
and there's blood on his hands, brother. He's the one that has opened up the aperture. He's opened up the pipeline in this district to allow this to happen. He green-lighted it along with Biden and said, come through Del Rio sector. And as a consequence, this buildup has been going on. You look into the history of the buildup of Del Rio sector, it became a focus point. Yeah. That's why in August of 2020, when we had this runoff between Raul Reyes and Tony Gonzalez, they had to get their puppet in there, Tony Gonzalez. Yeah. We all know, man. We all know Raul should have won that election. Yeah. This is not, tears. This is not, it's a fact, folks. We've even had highly placed elected officials that have said, yeah, Raul, we know they took it from you. bro.
Yep.
That's the way it is, man.
Yeah.
And so, people, you got to open your eyes, man. You have got to open your eyes. This is an epic struggle,
Yeah.
good versus evil, and get your heads out of the sand and elsewhere. Get into the fight. Stop baking your cookies and taking your pictures, and get into the fight.
You know, you can tell, you can see that we're really impassioned about this, and one of the big reasons we're impassioned about this is historically speaking, battles are lost first from within.
Yep.
And this is what is happening here with the Republican Party. It's one of the big reasons where Frank is running as an independent as well. Not that he's opposed to the Republican Party. He's not. To the
I'm trying to help it.
Yeah.
Wake the heck
Yeah,
up.
because they have an awesome platform. The Republican Party has an amazing, I believe, God-inspired platform.
Yep.
But you got people like Tony Gonzalez and Dan Crenshaw and McCarthy and these other rhinos that have abandoned that platform.
They use the platform as toilet paper, bro. They laugh at you.
Yep.
They laugh at you.
Yeah, and they're just as, and so we say, well, how does he have blood on his hands, and how does this relate to the NGOs, folks? What happens here is a lot of these illegal aliens, the majority of them that come across are encouraged because they know they're going to get released. The more processing centers you have, they're not afraid of any prosecution. They're not afraid of getting sent back. They're not afraid of any deportation or being returned to the country of origin. Under President Trump, they were. Matter of fact, there's a phenomenon that happens when we have a true conservative in the presidency. There's a phenomenon that happens. It's called self-deportation. When I was in the border patrol, I've seen it. I know you've seen it. When they know that if they get arrested, even by local police, local law enforcement, they get turned over to border patrol. If they're here in the country illegally, and they're going to get deported,
And they're going to be in the books,
and they're
on
going
the
to be
database.
they're going to be on the database. And so what ends up happening is a lot of them end up self-deporting. They go back on their own, and then when they wait. Because the monies don't stay here anyway, folks. The monies don't stay here. A lot of people think that when illegal immigrants come and they take these jobs that nobody else wants, you gotta get off that argument as well. Because the reality is, when they come over here, a lot of them come over here. The majority. I'm not just talking from Mexico. I'm talking from all these other countries. The majority of illegal aliens that are crossing right now are what's called OTMs, other than Mexicans, and so the majority of the Mexicans are getting sent back under Title 42, but their monies don't stay here. They go back to their country of origin. They go back to their families, or sadly, even worse, they go to the cartels and the smuggling organizations.
And something that I started talking about earlier, Manny, here is, the buildup of Del Rio's sector being a focal point. They knew that they needed this sector, but the plans were in place, bro.
Yeah.
And trainees started arriving in Del Rio's sector. There's things that are being done here in Del Rio's sector. I was just talking to an agent who transferred right next door into Big Bend's sector. And what he was saying, and he came out of Del Rio, and he says it is a difference. The way that these people are being handled in this sector versus the way that they're being handled here. I talked to a person who has the opportunity, Border Patrol agent, to visit different parts of the state.
Yeah.
And that agent was telling me about the way that these illegal aliens are being handled in El Paso sector.
Wow.
And Del Rio sector is being treated differently. And as former chaplains, as former agents, as a former supervisor, assistant chief here, I tell you, I would be freaking demanding that our agents, our ICE personnel, here in Del Rio sector, get a freaking break from this onslaught. It is purposeful. The resources were directed here when it was declared a focused sector, were directed here as part of a larger plan. And what you're seeing here is chessboard, moves here that had to be put into place to allow this to happen. And so Texas is the doorstep, it's the doormat for this invasion. And then somebody just said, hey, Abbott's finally calling for invasion. Man, we've been freaking screaming about this since last year, that we have a solemn obligation, not just to the present day citizens of Texas to defend our sovereignty, but we have a solemn obligation, Manny, to the descendants of those men and women who died for our country, who died for our state.
Right.
We have an obligation to the Alamo defenders and those men and women who died on the battlefields of, San Jacinto, Gonzales, other places, the Tennesseans that came down here.
Right.
Left family, left home, left their businesses to come and defend the ideas and the principles of freedom. That free man will not bow, bend the knee to anyone but our Lord and Savior, our Master Jesus Christ. That's the only one we're going to bow to. And so what is happening here in this country, bro, is a disgrace to their sacrifice and to their memory. And we got elected officials and appointed officials who rather than stand up for what is right and fight for our sovereignty, fight for our future, are selling out for the freaking almighty dollar, bro.
Yeah, and I'll even go one step further and include those who immigrated here legally. It's a slap in the face.
It's a slap in
the face. And I was talking to a gentleman. We're going to have him on the show here hopefully soon. He immigrated here to the United States, joined the United States military, became a colonel, and actually tried to run, and he attempted he had a candidacy to run for governor there in Virginia, and he's from Mexico. He immigrated from Mexico, born in Mexico, raised in Mexico, immigrated here to the United States when he was young. And, it's amazing to me because I talk to naturalized citizens a lot, quite often. And they can't stand this. They can't stand this, And I said, well, it's your paisanos that are, coming over here too. They're like, well, they need to come over here legally.
Yeah.
There's laws here. We went through it right. We did it right. We'll defend this country. Yeah. I always tell people that I share the story when because my grandfather he immigrated here years in the 40s from Mexico, and he's the one who actually taught me about American patriotism. He taught, and I remember when I was a teenager. I was going through this Orgullo de Mexico type. Yeah. Pride, thing, as a teenager wearing the Mexican flag and the hats. And I remember I went to go visit my grandfather one day, and he tells me, "Hey, mijo, where were you born?" And I said, "Well, I was here, born in the United States." He goes, "Why are you wearing that?"
Yeah.
And he goes, "Aren't you American?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "No." He goes, you need to defend your country first." Yeah. He says, "You're not from there. You're from here." He goes, "I'm not from there anymore. I'm from here." And he pulled out his green card and his naturalization card, and he showed it to me, and he was really excited about it.
And proud of it.
And proud of it, brother. And I remember going home, taking off that shirt, and I never wore it again. Not to say I'm not proud of my heritage. Yeah. But the reality is, folks, this is a great country, a country of freedom. People. I don't see people running south to try to get into these other countries. I see all these young people on television, trying to embrace socialism and communism, but I don't see them running to these communist and socialist countries, in order to prove their point.
I do see people moving to Mexico and Costa Rica and stuff. The expatriates, the folks that move out, because it's cheaper. Honestly, you got to look at, some of these people on their pensions. It goes probably a longer way in some of these other countries. But the thing about it is,
but they're not entering illegally.
Yeah, no, you're right, bro. You're right, and we have a tendency, right? We could really drill down into all these little tangents and all these nuances to stuff. There's some general stuff. Something that you say, Manny. So there's a bunch of hoopla right now that's going on. I've seen Breitbart write a story on it, and some of these other national publications are writing about the phenomenon that's taking place in Texas about quote unquote Hispanics. Are moving in greater numbers towards the Republican Party. Man, brother, earlier I was laughing as you were talking because as I was thinking about how to set this up. You ever see you watch Dave Chappelle?
Well, once in a while,
bro. Yeah. So Dave, look, he's gonna rub people the wrong way. You never see one of his comedy shows. He's got a very, very biting, very sharp sense of humor. Very. On key about a lot of things, but there's a little skit he does where these folks are driving, or they're someplace and they see and David's portraying this. They see a man and he's eating, and they're like, "Look at him, he's eating." I don't know if you ever seen. Look at him eat. Folks, sometimes I feel that way, Manny. The way that the media portrays us Texans, yeah. The way that the media portrays us South Texans, yeah. The way that the major national news are looking at us, border Texans, Tejanos down here, like we are some kind of freaking animal in a drive-through zoo. Yeah. We're Americans. We are Texans. We believe in the founding principles of this nation. Yeah. We are Christians. We believe in the Lord God Almighty, creator of the universe. We're not any different from the rest of America, bro. But yet they're making all this ooh and ah about, Hispanics are leaving the Democrat Party. I'll tell you what, brother. I'll tell you what. We've been conservative. Yeah. We love our state. We love our nation. We're willing to fight with it. I've got so many relatives that serve law enforcement, military, that have served in Vietnam, etc. And so we serve our country. We're not any different from mainstream America. Yeah, we might have a little bit of salsa on it. We got some Tejano going on and stuff like that. But we are Americans and we love our nation. And we're not blind and we are not stupid. And we know, Manny, when people are trying to play us, and when you got the likes of Kevin McCarthy coming down here, Tony Gonzalez and Elise Stefanik, they're trying to play us. Yep. We're not going to get played, bro. There's an awakening that's taking place down in South Texas. And we need to get more people. As you become awake and you see the games that this globalist who have infiltrated the Republican Party, who are turning the grand old party into the globalist-owned party, as you wake up to their tactics and their antics, it's your obligation to go tell others. You're going to meet some resistance. You're going to be called all kinds of names. The Karens are going to come out of the bushes. They're going to scrutinize and they're going to be, spending more time looking at your words and everything to see, what they can use against you. You keep on trucking. You keep on driving. You keep on dropping those truth bombs. You don't stop because God is on your side. Amen. God is with us, bro.
Amen. Amen. Yes, God is with us. And a lot of people, Frank, are afraid of, sometimes they get a little bit afraid of confrontation. But one of the big reasons that the Democratic Party
came to cause confrontation.
Yeah, exactly. One of the big reasons that the Democratic Party keeps doing these outlandish things, and they just throw anything at the wall that sticks, and they think that they're trying to stick something to the wall. But one of the big reasons they do this is because they know that a lot of people are afraid to fight.
Yeah.
And so Biden has come out from his own, and words have come out from his own mouth that he doesn't understand. He doesn't know if this is constitutional or not, what they're about to do. But they throw it at the wall to see if it'll stick because people don't fight, and then they can depend on the rhinos within the Republican Party that aren't going to say anything.
They're going to play along with them, bro.
They're going to
go with them, man.
They're going to go with it, and they may say it out in public, like Tony Gonzalez does all the time. Say out in public, they're for border security, but they turn around, they support the NGOs.
He's got blood in his hands, bro.
And I'm gonna speak to the Tony Gonzalez people that are watching. I've talked to a lot of agents this week, Mr. Gonzalez, and I'm going to tell you they are very, very disappointed in you, disgusted because of and the majority of almost all the ones that I talked to, Frank, told me that what they saw here when they saw him here at the border was just photo ops. That's all they saw that when they looked at him. And one of the big reasons too is because a lot of them have forget that you used a fake border patrol agent to promote your campaign and then you voted for the January 6th commission. But anyway, border patrol agents within the ranks, folks are tired of this as well. So I say this because there's some people out there trying to make border patrol agents complicit in all this, but folks, they're tired of it. They don't want to release anybody. They want to do their job. They want to defend this country. This is why they took the oath. This is why I took the oath. This is why Frank took the oath. And for an individual like Mayorkas to come out and say that he has operational control, it is a lie. It is a big fat lie.
Yeah, and that's why, I know it must have been painful for old Chip Roy there to be in the same photo, in the same picture as Elise and Kevin McCarthy and Tony there. I know it must have been painful for them, but he's at least doing the right thing now. Look, full disclosure here, he's one of the guys that voted, against the objection. Remember, that was one of the first.
Chip Roy.
Yeah, Chip Roy. Yeah. He voted against the Senator Cruz objection that would have sent the Electoral College back to Arizona and Pennsylvania, allow the state legislatures, therefore the people of Arizona and Pennsylvania, have an opportunity to look at the results of how the Electoral College electors were selected for their respective states. And so Chip voted against that objection, led by Cruz. He took a lot of heat for it. He went around the district. And man, he got his ears chewed off by people. He got chunks taken out of his back pockets here as people ripped into him. But he's back on track, man. So now what we need to do, Congressman Roy, is press in even harder. Yep. Yep. And I'm encouraged to see that he floated this letter for Mayorkas to resign, because everybody across the board, man, we're looking at the videos as one after the other, congressmen ripped into Alejandro Mayorkas if they do get the majority back in November, I think he's probably going to resign. Be, he's probably going to resign before he gets impeached. And even then, he ain't going to be able to run hard long. But anyways, and now he's actually Chip Roy is moving towards impeachment. He's already said, man, we're going to do that because more and more people are realizing that Alejandro Mayorkas is dangerous for our country. He has totally, it's beyond malfeasance. It's beyond mismanagement, bro. It's beyond ineptitude here. Americans are seeing that Mayorkas, therefore, the Biden administration is committing treason.
Right.
Treason against our country, desecrating and violating our sovereignty, and putting our future and our children's future on the altar of sacrifice to God knows what God. They're sacrificing our future, our country too. But this is it's so wrong, and finally Americans are waking up to it. My only concern, my only question is, will it be enough? Will it be enough? And so what we need, folks, is for more people to join the ranks, get into the fight. The time for hobnobbing, the time for taking cutesy pictures is over. America demands warriors. America demands fighters. And I'm not talking about freaking physical. You've got to get in and support. In Senate District 24 right now, there is a massive runoff between Raul Reyes and Pete Flores. And folks, Pete Flores was endorsed by the Libre Initiative, who gets their money from the Koch pact, the Koch brothers, who are open borders. They're the cheap labor branch of the Republican Party, and he was endorsed by them twice. He took money from them in 2020.
They've been investigated numerous times.
He took $5,000 from them, and he's supported by the open borders globalist, rhinos here in Texas. So in Senate District 24, the 13 counties out there, Gillespie and Kerr County, et cetera, up there, Medina County, you need to vote for Raul Reyes. And at the statewide level, you got to vote for Dr. Tim Wesley. Vote for Tim Wesley for commissioner. His opponent, Dawn Buckingham, stepped down, bro. She stepped down from a Senate level to run for land commissioner. That's a step down. Why?
That's interesting.
Yeah, she did, and she said it, and she was grilled by the freedom, the folks that defended the Cenotaph and the Alamo. Remember when BLM was in San Antonio? They were rioting and they were threatening to tear down our most sacred, monuments here in Texas. Well, that group grilled her. And she has been exposed as a rhino and a puppet. Yeah, and I'm saying it. Dawn is a pawn of the globalist here in Texas. So vote for Dr. Tim Wesley. Folks are going to get mad. Folks are going to say all stuff. Look, folks, now is the time for truth. And we're not going to sugarcoat stuff for you. America, Texas, our children, our future is in trouble. In trouble. And the time for parlor games is over. We need warriors. We need fighters. We need to get people into the arena. Right now, there's elections going on at the local level, statewide. You need to be talking to your candidates, man. There's people who will walk right in and say, "Well, dang, who to pick here? Let me just and just pick a person." Yeah. You need to research the candidates and the propositions. And whatever is on that ballot, you can walk in and ask for a sample ballot, walk back out, go do your research on it, and go back and vote. There's still time for that. And I imagine there's other statewide runoffs, but those are the two that come to mind right now. Vote for Raul Reyes in Senate District 24. Vote for Dr. Tim Wesley for land commissioner. Yeah. You'll get some true fighters. Tim Wesley was down there when BLM riots were going on, bro. He was down there with those people. Texas Freedom Force down there defending the Cenotaph, defending the Alamo. That's the kind of warrior we need in the arena. Yeah. That's the kind of person, the kind of Texan in the arena that we need.
And I tell you as well, folks, there's the school board school board elections going on as well in our local area anyway, and we need to get the right people in the school board, folks. I mean, the critical race theory is trying to make its way in here into the Texas public schools, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff that is trying to make its way into the public schools. And I mean, you heard Biden. I don't know if you heard Biden, but Biden the other day said that our kids, at the public school, they don't belong to their parents; they belong to the teachers, and so the teachers have the right to shape their minds, to basically indoctrinate them. And that's what this administration wants to do. It wants to, we homeschooled our kids, And we used to get accused all the time. Well, aren't you indoctrinating your kids? We're indoctrinating them according to the tenets of our faith. Yeah, but they do. The left does the same thing at the public schools, and even worse. Folks, pray for our children, pray for this future generation. And actually, it's a generation now what's happening, because you got this Democratic Party that wants to, lower the voting age, wants to appease, the younger generation, and that hasn't even, fully developed yet. Not saying that our kids aren't important, but they are. And this is the reason, because they have a lot of their, statistically speaking, I was reading the other day that the brain doesn't even fully develop until the age of 25. My wife would say, well, maybe 50. So anyway, and according to me, anyway, in my case. But folks, there's a lot of stuff to pray for. There's a lot going on, and we got about a minute or so. But I'm gonna just put up our website over here. Please go to our website, tacoboutitlive.com. We're gonna have our podcast up there. You can replay the program once the video is uploaded as well. Give us some time, because sometimes it takes me a couple of days to upload the videos. We also have Frank's website here. I always get amazed every time I see your picture on there. How
I was a little kid.
Yeah, you're a little kid, bro. And Frank4cd23.com. You can go there, help him out, see what he's about. Support him if you like. And if you need, he has a petition that trying to get signatures on it, folks. And so if you want to sign the petition to get it, you have to be a registered voter and not have voted in this last primary. But if you're here in District 23, email us, tacoboutitlive.com. We'll get you some information on how to get that petition signed to get them on the ballot here in November. We're very, very close. We need a good conservative, true warrior in Congress. No more rhinos. So I say no to rhinos, man.
And folks say, hey, Frank, dang it, man, you're so loud, blustery, passionate, whatever you want to call it. Look, folks, all you got to do is just spend some time looking. Part of what you do in Congress is you debate, you push, you fight for your ideology, your beliefs, your principles. That's part of what you do.
Yeah.
And so you need somebody that's going to go there and fight for that. But yeah, you also work with your fellow reps. And the other thing is that you use that position, bro, to be the crystallizing component, to gather in the stakeholders, to gather in the interested parties, and together march forward. We got 435 representatives out there, and when you get, but each one's a person, it's an individual. So you got to get together with like-minded folks. You got to get together. You got to fight. You got to propose legislation that is common sense, that is, getting to the root of the problem, not just throwing more money at the problem.
Right.
And look, the other thing is you got to be willing to look at the way that these expenditures are made, the way that our money is flowing, and shed the light of truth on it, and hold agencies accountable, ask these hard questions. The grilling that Alejandro Mayorkas is getting, other people should be getting grilled just like that.
Yep.
And their feet held to the fire.
Their feet held to the fire. Hopefully here soon. Abbott, we didn't even touch on Abbott today. Maybe next week, he needs to declare.
He's finally listening.
Yeah, we need to. Yeah. Hopefully, declare an invasion. And that's what we've been saying for a long time now. Need to declare an invasion. But folks, we need to head out, and so we want to thank you so much for joining us. HX Renegade Radio. Thank you so much for being on the. Watching us. We'll be on that show next week, Frank and I. So please tune in, as well as Old Patrol headquarters. Thank you so much for allowing us Gil, to be on your page there. We truly appreciate it. And please, like and share our episodes. We need to get more people on board in order to help them see what's going on in our great state of Texas and also our nation. So I want to say thank you so much for joining us this morning. God willing, we'll see you next week. And the Lord bless you, America, and Texas.